Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing with you my summer reading plans. First I want to talk about the books that I started reading in the month of June. So the first one that I read was A Month in the Country by J.L. Carr. This is a beautiful, very short book that talks about how a young man who was a soldier in World War I is now free for the summer, and he decides to take up a job in a small town in England. He literally, by the time he gets there, he is so traumatized by the war that he just participated in that he has a facial twitch in his face. And so you see how having the stability and the quiet of having the same routine every day and being surrounded by a community of people slowly heals him. And it's just a beautiful process. And this is written from the point of view of, decades have passed and he's looking back at that one summer in his life that was such a very special month in his life that helped him to slow down and to finally kind of reconnect with his own self. So that was my first read for the month of June. And then after that one, I read The Grapes of Wrath by Steinbeck. And this book has inspired me to perhaps start a series about my favorite writers that I've read a lot of books by, and do like a little summary of the books that I've read, and also map out what I would recommend for people to start with. Because I know a lot of people always recommend to start with Of Mice and Men for John Steinbeck, and I completely disagree. So maybe I should have a video just about Steinbeck and go over like the different types of books that he's written and what to expect from each book and where to start. So let me know if that would be helpful to you guys, okay? But The Grapes of Wrath is the one that I read this month in June. And last year I had read East of Eden. The two books are very different. East of Eden takes place more at the turn of the century, and it kind of ends with the beginning of World War I. This is more a book about the 1930s, which is the Great Depression and how it affected people. And in this one, you're just following one family, and then they're kind of trying to migrate west to California the whole time. And you're seeing all the tragedies that are happening because of poverty. And East of Eden is different because it's different families that you start out with. So each chapter you feel like you're moving on to a completely different family in a different state, and the stories are not really connected. And then after a while the stories start to connect. So they're very different. Also, East of Eden, a lot of the characters are going to school, they're educated. So the language is very different in East of Eden. It's closer to what we're used to reading as standard English, whereas in The Grapes of Wrath, it's a family that's living in poverty and they are farmers. So their speech is different. So throughout the book, that's a very striking difference in style as well. So I thoroughly enjoyed this book, but I have to say it was very sad. A lot of times, I think another difference is East of Eden was sad, sort of like in a way that was more of a build up to a climax type of feeling. So you would feel like several chapters would go by building up to that outcome that felt like fate was striking, and you felt sad about the outcome, but you felt like it was inevitable and you kind of almost felt it coming. With Grapes of Wrath, it's more frequent tragic events. I would say each chapter has something tragic that happens in it, so you're constantly feeling very sad all over again. So you kind of have to brace yourself for all that sadness in this book. But this book did feel like you develop a closeness to the characters because it's one family that you're kind of zeroing in on. So this book has its own merits. I would say I'll be thinking about this one for a long time. And I made a lot of notes. So I need to go copy my quotes into my quote journal. So that was The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. And then the one I just finished is Summer by Edith Wharton. So I had previously read Ethan Frome, which is more of a winter novel because it's all taking place in the snow and it's very cold. And then I had read The Age of Innocence. And Summer is a very different book for several reasons. So one of the reasons why it's different from her other books that I've read so far is because Summer is written from the point of view of a young girl. She's about 16, 17 years old. And so you're following all her moods and all her thoughts very closely. So it does feel very different from Ethan Frome, which had male character as the main character, and The Age of Innocence is also mostly written from the point of view of the protagonist, who's a male character. So this one is my first Edith Wharton that places a young woman at the center of her story, and I really enjoyed this. It's also, you can tell that the way she wrote this one is a little bit more, I would say, explicit or stated more overtly compared to her other books, where in the other books there's a little bit of an undertone of something of a restraint where things are left unsaid. Whereas in this book you get more of a window into everything she's thinking, everything she's feeling. To me, I feel like I need to reflect on this book, but this one will definitely make the list of my favorites of 2025 so far. This is an amazing novel because it's amazing in terms of its structure. It's almost like some elements of towards the end of the book kind of go back to some themes from the beginning of the book. So there's something structurally very well done. And then it's very poetic. The passages are so beautiful. It just reads like poetry. You're just like, oh, wow. Lots of descriptions of nature. And it also shows important issues with a lot of nuance and a lot of complexity, which I really like. So if you show me a character and the whole time their attitude and their personality is exactly the same, it's kind of like monotone, that doesn't feel very real, because as humans we go through a lot of different moods and we change our minds about things and we reflect on things, and the same events, when we think about them later, have a different significance to us. And this is exactly what this book portrays. So I really, really enjoyed this book, Summer by Edith Wharton. I think my next Edith Wharton is going to be The House of Mirth, and I'll probably read that one in the fall, but I highly recommend this one. So then we're getting into the books that I'm planning to read. So this one I just started. It's called 3 Summers by Margarita Liberaki. I had bought this one about 6 months ago in the winter, so I had saved it for the summer. And this is a book by a Greek author. It basically is the story of 3 sisters, and they live in this big house on the outskirts of Athens. And it's such a unique voice she has. Her style reminds me a little bit of Natalia Ginsburg, who's an Italian author who talks about her big Italian family and all the neighbors in the neighborhood, and all the gossip and the little dramas that play out. So this is similar, except it's taking place in Greece. And also I feel like Margarita Liberaki's style is so unique. There's something quite metaphorical about the way she explains things. and the way that she describes her perspective as a child and adolescent. And so far, I'm really enjoying this. I had seen that some people had given it 4 stars, I think. And so I wasn't really expecting a 5-star read, but so far, this has been absolutely excellent. So I'm really pleased with this one, 3 Summers. Okay, and now we're getting into the books that I'm looking forward to reading for July and August. So the first one, which I just got completely on impulse because I saw it on the shelves. This is Not Without Laughter by Langston Hughes. This I know nothing about. So Langston Hughes is one of the writers from the Harlem Renaissance, and I haven't read anything by him. I think I've come across some of his poetry at some point, but I haven't read any of his other works. So this will be my first by him. And I have to be honest, the cover was what drew me in. And if you open the book, it has this cute penguin and the blue and orange contrast, which I thought was just beautiful. So this is probably going to be the next one I read right after 3 Summers. And then for July, I'm planning to read, hopefully, if I get to them, 2 more books. So one is A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. So this book has been recommended to me by so many people. Ironically, I think this is the only one where I actually met a person in real life who recommended this book to me, in addition to people online. So I feel like, okay, I have to read this book. So obviously it's the story of a young girl and it takes place in New York City. And I'm really looking forward to this. I have no idea about the plot or anything because I like to go into reading books kind of blindly. So I'll let you know more about this after I read it in July, okay? Okay, another one that has had a lot of buzz on Bookstagram is Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. So apparently this is a dystopian novel that was written decades ago, and it's supposed to take place in the future in 2024, in July of 2024. So this is going to be interesting to read it from the perspective of reading it past that date. It's a little bit like the feeling I had when I read 1984. But hopefully this will be good because a lot of people are saying this is excellent. And she has another one after this called Parable of the Talents that's supposed to be good as well. This comes in different covers, so I specifically ordered this in this cover because this is the one I wanted. So this will be another one of my July reads. Now, this next book is 700 pages long. This is the second volume of Proust, In Search of Lost Time, in French. And so I'm planning to read this. I'm not too sure if I'm going to start it in July or August, but this is probably going to take me at least a month to get through. So I'm hoping that I somehow am able to get through it in a timely manner. So I'm ready for fall after this. The thing about Proust is you have to take your time because it's not about the plot. It's more about soaking in the atmosphere. So for example, he's walking along the banks of a river and he'll be staring at somebody rowing their boat and imagining how they feel to be in the boat and to feel the breeze on their face. Or he'll be sitting under a tree reading a book and describing how he's connecting to the characters in the book and it's making him feel strong emotions. So it scenes like this, it's like you have to slow down, and it's a little bit of a tough read because he has these run-on sentences that go on and on and on, and you turn the page and it's still the same sentence. So it's a little bit of an acquired taste to get into Proust, but I think August is probably the best month to read Proust because it's sort of this atmosphere of the heat and summer and being outdoors. So hopefully this will be a good one for August. And the other books that I plan to cram into my summer, I have 2 more. So one is The Dew Breaker by Edwige Danticat. This is a Haitian writer. So if you guys are not familiar with Haiti, you can look on a map. There's this big island that's divided into two countries, and it has the Dominican Republic on one side and Haiti on the other side. And so people in Haiti mostly speak Creole, but the people who have studied French at school sometimes speak both Creole and French. So this is going to be my first book by this author. She has won a lot of awards and a lot of people have recommended her, so I'm excited. I have one of her short story collections and then I have this novel by her, so I'll start with the novel first. So stay tuned on that one. So the last one on the list is this one, The Go-Between by LP Hartley. This is written by a British author and it was published in 1953. I don't know much about the book, but a lot of people have said that they loved the story, that this is one of their favorite books they've read this year, etc. So on a whim, I ordered a used copy online and I had it on my shelf to read for later, but then I realized I think this will probably be a good summer book. So I've added it to my summer TBR at the last minute. So hopefully I'll enjoy this one. This concludes my list. Please let me know in the comments what you guys are planning to read this summer. And if you've read any of the books that I mentioned today, let me know how you like them, okay? I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, happy reading!